Greetings, sports fans, and welcome to the only CalTV show that makes its free throws in the clutch. My name's Dan Fiedler.
And I'm Daphne Pepinides.
Today we're going back
and forth.
There's a new top dog in Bear Country as new Cal men's basketball coach Mike Montgomery was introduced on Saturday. He's a four-time Pacific 10 Coach of the Year, and we're pretty excited to have him. So Daphne, what do you think this is going to do for our program next year?
Well, Dan, I have to tell you, I think this is going to do miles for the Cal program. Mike Montgomery, I mean, when I heard the news, because you got a text from me, I was so excited. I was like, just the prospect of having a coach that you knew could compete on a team that has so much talent.
Right.
Cal has, they have three players that are legit NBA prospects, and somehow they were down in the dump. I really think he's going to take it a
But how many of
way.
those legitimate NBA prospects are we getting back? We know Devon Harden is gone. Ryan Anderson has declared for the draft himself, but he hasn't signed an agent, which means he could come back possibly.
Ryan Anderson is the big if in all of this, right? He is the big if, and Mike Montgomery said a great quote in his press conference. He said, if we stay intact, and he says, of course, I'm not being very subtle. He says, we'll be pretty doggone good, right?
And
he really is the X factor.
I think he is, right. Ryan Anderson is going to be very key, but I think having Patrick Christopher in the offense, he's going to get a lot more playing time. I think Montgomery sees that in him, and the Bears will also have Theo Robertson back, who was out for the entirety of last season with an injury. So I think it's looking good for the Bears.
It is, and I think the last thing to note is that the Pac-10 is now totally shook up. Kevin Love is going to the NBA.
Right.
Darren Collison is going to the NBA. The Lopez twins are going to the NBA.
Right.
And we're just waiting for everyone else to go too.
Bay Area news, Trent Johnson actually left Stanford for LSU today. So it's shaking things up. It's going to be a new Pac-10 next year.
The Cal men's baseball team is on a tear, having won their series against two-time defending national champion Oregon State this past weekend and tying Stanford in 13 innings yesterday. So, plain and simple, Dan, with the Bears now ranked 5th in the nation according to Baseball America, what is the big difference between last year and this year?
Well, you and I both know, and we talked about this, that Tyson Ross was going to be the man.
Yeah.
And I think I said that
exactly
last time we
like
talked
that,
about
actually.
it. But I'm going to talk about the supporting cast here. We know he has a sub-2 ERA, but take a look at Kevin Miller, the reliever for the Bears. 38 and a half innings pitched. 38 and 2/3 innings pitched without a single run yet. And we talked about we were going to get run production on offense for the Bears. Take a look at David Cooper and Josh Satin, 23 home runs, both of them over 700 slugging percentage. They're really stepping up.
I know. I don't see any real other explanation other than that. It takes time for some players to mature, Some of these guys have been younger. They're finally kind of maybe getting a little bit of cohesiveness as a team. I really think, they're finally, like we said, before it was all about, okay, we need a pitch to get out of this. Now they're scoring runs and pitching.
Exactly.
It's all coming together.
That's the key. The NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments are over at long last, with the Kansas Jayhawks taking the men's bracket and the Tennessee Volunteers taking the women's. Let's hear some final thoughts. How do you think the final games went?
All right, Dan, here's my thoughts. Lady Vols, unbelievable. Pat Summitt's 8th national title as a head coach. Candace Parker really should head over to Europe because that's where they're going to give her $1 million. However, at the same time, I know she wants to stay here. She's getting drafted today. That's what I just thought. Talk about the 2 best days of your life, okay? You win the national championship and you get drafted number 1 in the W and you get drafted the next day. Unbelievable. At the same time, I think Memphis just proved to us exactly what everybody's been saying all along. John Calipari with his, 25 things I would look at on a team, 26 on a player, 26 would be free throws.
Okay, well,
They choked.
The thing that I like, they definitely did choke. Just to touch on the women, I think that was sort of an anticlimactic ending. It wasn't very close. We saw that Tennessee clearly was the better team, although Candace Wiggins and Stanford had a fantastic
great run.
And I just think that there were so many games we were looking forward to in the NCAA tournament for the men that sort of were busts. We talked about UCLA Xavier, Memphis, Texas, when Tennessee played Louisville. All these games that were really hyped up and they sort of sputtered out. This was our salvation. This was one of the greatest games in college basketball history, and just to have Kansas, a team that hasn't had a standout player, but they played cohesively as a team, going against a Memphis team that tried to prove everybody wrong, but their ultimate sort of epic failure came back at the end. I thought it was just great.
It really was great. Mario Chalmers with that ridiculous 3, and the whole thing, and then the way they just took over in in overtime. But I think the point is, and I think what you were also trying to say is, I mean, this team really didn't have a star, and that's why no one was really looking to them in the beginning. But really what they proved is that you just need a team. You don't need a star.
Teamwork wins championships.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. For Dan Fiedler, I'm Daphne Pepanides. We'll see you next week on Back and Forth.